The moment shattered him in broad daylight, not in the safety of night. Armin Khalid stood on the edge of a quiet rural road, the sun hanging mercilessly high above green pastures, as the doctor's words echoed in his head like a verdict already carried out. His hands trembled as he crushed the medical report, his chest tight, breath shallow, the realization slicing through him that without a child, everything he had built, inherited, and sworn to protect would vanish within months. His family estate was not just land, it was history soaked into soil, a promise passed through generations like blood. And now the law was cruelly simple: without an heir, the property would be transferred to distant relatives who had never set foot on it, people who saw legacy only as profit. The shock was not just fear of loss, but the unbearable grief of knowing his body had betrayed him, quietly, irreversibly. If you are watching Kindness Diaries and believe in hope, compassion, and second chances, this is the moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because stories like this begin in despair but often find light where none seems possible. Armin had once believed love would solve everything. Years earlier, he had lost his wife, Sana, during childbirth, losing both mother and child in a single, devastating afternoon under the same unforgiving sun. Since then, the estate had become his refuge and his prison. Daylight hours were filled with managing cattle, repairing fences, and walking through open fields that mocked his loneliness with their beauty. Every sunrise reminded him that life moved forward, even when he felt permanently frozen in grief. That was when Lorene Ashcroft entered his life, not dramatically, but quietly, like a shift in the wind. She arrived one morning to inspect grazing rights as part of an agricultural partnership. She was practical, composed, with eyes that carried the weight of someone who had survived disappointment without letting it harden her completely. Her presence felt grounding, not romantic at first, but honest. Day after day, they crossed paths under clear skies, exchanging glances filled with unspoken understanding. Lorene carried her own scars. Once married to a man who measured her worth in obedience, she had escaped with nothing but dignity intact. She had vowed never again to let desperation dictate her choices. Yet, standing across from Armin in the open field that afternoon, with cows grazing behind a wooden fence and sunlight catching the dust in the air, she sensed the gravity in him. When he finally confessed his need, not just for a child, but for salvation, she did not recoil. She listened. His request was not romantic. It was raw, humiliating, stripped of pride. He needed a baby, not love, not even companionship. Without it, his ancestral home would be gone, and with it, the last tangible connection to his late wife and unborn child. The words left him hollow, his shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on the ground as if bracing for judgment. Lorene did not answer immediately. She watched the field sway gently, the sky vast and indifferent. She knew desperation when she saw it, she had lived inside it for years. But she also knew the danger of agreeing without protecting herself. When she finally responded, her condition was not transactional, but moral. She would not be used as a solution to a problem. If she were to help him, it would be under terms that preserved dignity, respect, and choice for both of them. Days passed in uneasy contemplation. Armin wrestled with guilt, shame, and fear, often breaking down alone under the open sun, kneeling in tall grass where no one could see him cry. He questioned whether he deserved another chance at happiness or if this was merely fate's final lesson in letting go. Meanwhile, Lorene examined her own heart, asking whether compassion could coexist with self-respect. They agreed to a legal arrangement grounded in transparency. No lies, no coercion, no hidden expectations. What neither of them anticipated was how shared vulnerability, lived in daylight rather than secrecy, could soften even the deepest wounds. As weeks turned into months, something shifted. Mornings were spent working side by side, laughter sneaking in where silence once lived. Armin found himself speaking to Lorene about Sana, not with choking pain but with gentle remembrance. Lorene found herself trusting again, her guarded heart opening slowly, cautiously, under the warmth of consistent kindness. Life tested them relentlessly. Rumors spread through nearby towns. Legal challenges threatened their agreement. There were moments when Armin nearly gave up, convinced he was dragging Lorene into his chaos. There were moments when Lorene considered walking away, fearing she was losing herself in someone else's crisis. Yet each time, the clear sky above them seemed to remind them that clarity, like daylight, exposes truth but also reveals paths forward. Then came the day that changed everything. Under a bright morning sun, with birds calling from the trees and the estate alive with ordinary beauty, the news arrived. Lorene was expecting. Armin collapsed into tears, not of victory, but of overwhelming gratitude mixed with terror. He feared the universe might still find a way to take this from him. What followed was not a fairy tale. Pregnancy was hard. Emotions ran high. Old fears resurfaced. But something deeper than obligation had formed between them, a bond forged not by romance, but by shared resilience. As the months progressed, Armin realized the most shocking truth of all: the child was no longer the reason he feared loss. Lorene was. The estate no longer mattered more than the people within it. He had been so focused on preserving the past that he had nearly missed the miracle of a future taking shape in plain daylight. Right before the final moments of this story, take a second and comment below, share what you think this condition truly meant and whether you believe sacrifices like this can turn into love. When the baby was born, the sun streamed through the farmhouse windows, bathing everything in gold. Armin held the child with trembling hands, not as an heir, but as life itself. Lorene watched him, tears tracing silent paths down her face, knowing that her condition had never been about control. It had been about ensuring humanity survived alongside necessity. If this story touched your heart, please support Kindness Diaries by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support helps stories of compassion and second chances reach those who need them most. In the end, Armin did not just save his legacy, he redefined it. Under open skies and honest light, he learned that sometimes losing everything is the only way to discover what truly matters. And for the first time in years, the daylight no longer hurt his eyes, it warmed his soul, promising that even from desperation, something beautiful can be born.